how do we balance that fine line there? Hey, everybody, good morning. It's Rick and Lee, the Freedom System.
Good morning.
And yeah, we're early, but guess what? Early bird gets the worm, which is disgusting. But actually, when showing up early is being on time. So expect our podcast, expect our YouTube channel, expect this Facebook Live broadcast to start early often. Because you know what? A lot of times Lee and I are having a great conversation. We just decide, hey, we should share this conversation with the world. And right now, we are talking about things that might mentally get in the way of prospecting and being successful. And everybody's got something big going on, right? And nobody knows how hard it is for you except for you. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning. Yeah, this business is 80% mindset, about 19% skills, and 1% luck. And the mindset piece is something that people just want to jump right over. They don't want to even think about that.
And you were diving into a Tony Robbins quote right before we hopped on. Let's go back. Let's reverse right back to that, because that's what made me hit the go live button.
So Tony Robbins has a quote, and I'll probably butcher it, but it's something to the effect of, people want to postpone happiness. They want to think that they're going to be happy if and when something happens. And that good. And he obviously travels the world and is like this big speaker and meets a lot of different people and has interacted with tons of different people all over the world. And basically he just says that, some of the people that he meets who are the happiest are not necessarily the most financially successful right now. They are just happy, and they've chosen to be happy in their present moment. And, we always talk about actions over results. And if you can't be grateful for what you have right now, you're certainly not going to be grateful for something down the road. And that's something that you have to remember. And part of your mindset in the morning, working on your mindset, is to is to practice gratefulness, to realize what you have, and to recognize that how lucky you are to be in the position you're in, to and actually say it, before you prospect, before you get, the morning is the time, kind of that 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. time period is the time to work on your mindset, to prep for your calls, and to recognize that the reason why you're calling, if you don't call, you're depriving people of the opportunity to get the service that you will provide. And you're also depriving your loved ones of a lot. So, not prospecting is really a pretty selfish thing. And I think you need to get into the mentality of understanding that. And you need to work on your mindset daily. And that's something that took me a while to really understand why that is. And it's really, really critical. And that one nugget right there is worth a lot. And there's a lot of good mindset training out there. There's a lot of good, curriculum you can find to work on that. But it's your mindset is like a muscle. It has to be worked on every day. And in this business, if you ask the top producers, people who are in 100 million plus a year, they have that down. They are in control of their mindset every day. They go into each day confident and knowing that they're going to make a difference, and that's really what it takes. That's probably the single most important thing in the business, more than skills. Because everybody, I have people texting me all day, every day, asking me, what do I say? What script should I use? How can my delivery be better? What do you bring with you on an appointment? All of these tactical questions. Everybody wants to talk about skills. Nobody wants to talk about mindset. At least that in my experience, people want to talk about tactics and how they can be competitive and beat the other person or whatever. But when it comes to mindset, people don't want to go back to the basics of gratefulness practice, meditation, working out in the morning, eating right, drinking enough water, doing all these things that will enable you to have the mindset to do what you need to do those daily activities, whatever your business development, growth thing looks like. And that's the thing that's going to pay the most dividends. That's just the reality. So
I'm going to mute myself for 1 second.
That's a nice fireplace, Rick. So anyway, yeah, I mean, that's probably the, when I first got into coaching like 2 years ago, when I first like hired a coach, like the first huge piece of the curriculum that I went through was mindset training. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, well, when are we going to get to the important part? When are we going to get to the part that actually helps you close deals? And I didn't understand that is the most important part. That's 85% of it right there.
And I agree with you, Lee. And people will have mixed reactions on that. And we've had some coaches along the way that are like mindset, foo poo, like let's go practical and tactical. And there's a lot to be said for going straight to practical and tactical. But if your head is messed up, you can't apply anything, right? Mm-hmm. And so people tap into all sorts of things. I'm not going to push any agenda here. People tap into all sorts of things. Meditation, you mentioned, working out first thing in the morning. Yoga, you might be able to listen to an inspirational speaker. Personally, when I'm in the right mindset, I turn to the Bible. I turn to God and what He says on this. And Luke 16:10 is a good one there. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with very much. And that goes back to what you were talking about too, which is, when you're getting ready with the basics, right? When you're getting ready, taking care of small deals, when you're getting ready, taking care of small things, you can be trusted with bigger and greater. Now, whether you believe God's trusting you with that or somebody else or the universe, that's up to you. But like, you still have to know how to do the small things, take care of small people, take care of small actions. And then you talked about contentment. And I remember like in Philippians 4:11-13, Paul's in prison, chained in a dungeon, no chance for escape. And he says, hey, I've learned to be content with whatever the circumstances. I know what it's like to be in need. I know what it's like to have plenty. And I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. Now, Paul tapped into God for strength. And some people are going to tap into God for strength. Some people are going to tap into their own heart, their own mindset, like do what you got to do. But the same principle applies regardless of whether you're tapping into Christianity, Judaism, whether you're Muslim or not. The same principle applies, which is that if you learn to be content in any situation, whether well-fed or plenty, right? How you get your strength is up to you. But today is the day you dreamed about yesterday, right? And there's no promise of tomorrow. And I remember Tim was telling me when I got involved with EXP for the first time, he said, look, Rick, everybody's living with one mistake. And I said, what's that? He said, you take tomorrow for granted. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I wasn't properly planning for my retirement. I wasn't properly planning as an independent broker. I wasn't properly planning to leave my kids in a better situation, right? To take care of them long after I'm gone with passive residual income, give them freedom from debt, from money, all these things. And that's one of the reasons I joined EXP, was to build that up so I could will income to my children. And if you are not setting up a vehicle for that at your current brokerage, talk to us about that. But the goal is, the thing is, like, part of that mindset is don't take today for granted. You might be buried in a ton of crap, personal stuff, right? Professional stuff. You might be going through whatever you're going through, but you still live and enjoy today.
Right, exactly. Well, and the vast majority of people, as you know, Rick, in our business have no financial plan. They have no plan for the future. It's the nature of being on the commission roller coaster. It's the nature of being in our business where, you get a big commission check and you think, you're like, I have all this money. And then you don't plan at all. You have no plan and no ability to think about the future at all. And that's something in this business that, I mean, it's just everywhere. I mean, you see it.
Yeah. I love the memes where someone like gets a big commission check and they're riding a bedazzled purple giraffe or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Well, and, I want to give a shout out to probably my very first mentor in the business, Lenny Mayoka, who's a broker, a great broker in Boulder, Colorado. And I remember when I first began, I was newly licensed in 2005, and I started working as as his TC, or kind of as his assistant for a couple months, just to kind of get my feet wet. And there was a thing on the door of his office, and it said, "Do the little things well now. In time, great things will be presented to you, waiting to be done." And that really stuck with me, because I thought about that when I was, in 2019, I did my first few deals in Seattle. I was getting familiar, getting started with this market. I knew the market here, but I hadn't done much business here. And and it's funny because the first few deals I did here, each one of them, I remember intricately so much about the deal and who was involved and how things went and the other agent in the deal and the buyer. And I was on the listing side on those deals mostly and going through that experience. And, each one of those, I think to the other agent, sometimes the deal didn't seem as significant as it did to me. But to me, it was a huge, huge deal. And I still feel that way now when I take a listing, like this listing that's going live today. It's such an honor and a treasure for me to get to do that. And it's just such a unique honor. And I think about those, like it sticks with you. And as I've gone further in the business and taken bigger listings and done, different things and been a part of really sophisticated deals and all this stuff, that really stuck with me. And it's, and I think you really, I think you need to approach the business like that, no matter how far you've come, whether you're, brand new or you're a $100 million producer or more, or whatever you have. And it's also something where at EXP, I think about a lot because as we have folks who are in our revenue share groups, who are in our organizations. And I think about how I want to help them and pour it into them. And that to me, I mean, even more than listing a home for a seller, that to me is probably the greatest single honor that I will get in this business, is to be able to help someone else. There's really nothing else like it. And it's probably my favorite part of the business and something we get to do at EXP. I feel like probably more than maybe, most agents do. And that's something that I take really seriously. And it's probably the most enjoyable part of my day. And it's always funny because people call me or text me and they ask me questions and they're like, oh, I feel bad for taking up your time. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is the best part of my day. This is the thing I enjoy the most. Is I will enjoy helping you succeed more than any of my deals, for sure. One of the folks who I've helped out a little bit, or I've talked to for a while and know, is Matt Moss. He's an agent in Portland, and recently it was it was maybe, I don't know how many months ago, but he closed one of his first deals from a seller who he didn't know previously. It was I think it was either a FISBO or an expired, and he posted about that on social media, and I saw we were kind of talking about it, and that to me was probably that was one of the biggest ones that I've had since I got into the business, back into the sales side of the business, is just seeing that success, because that is such a cool thing.
It is. It really is. And I get that call all the time too. It's like, oh, I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, it truly is the best part of the day, right? Well, when you're able to help Jamal or Monica or Tony or Cindy or somebody walk through the situation that they're in, right? And help them troubleshoot a deal, or get them, back into mental balance, whatever that is. And you touched on something else too. And it reminds me of our good friend, Steve Powers, coach at Watson Powers Coaching. And a little shout out there. He's like, when your clients trust you to help them buy or help you sell, right? Or help them sell, they are giving you everything you have. Mm-hmm. The food on your table, the roof over your head, the clothes on your back, the school your kids go to, the toys you play with, all of that is coming from that deal. Be so grateful, no matter how small that deal is. Yeah. And, I think it reminds me of you walk into a restaurant or a bar and they've got their first dollar taped to the wall, right? Because it was that important. They sold their first thing. Oh, yeah. And it sounds like you're still approaching every deal that way.
Oh, completely. Every single one. When I take a listing agreement, when a listing agreement gets signed, no matter who it is, whether it's someone I know, someone I don't know, when that agreement gets signed, those are always of course, my favorite days, but they're my favorite days, not because I'm going to go and sell the property and make money. They're my favorite days because I'm taking that on, and I have that responsibility, and it's such an honor. It's such a huge, huge honor, and it's such a massive win for the seller and for me and for everyone involved in it. And it's just such a huge deal to me. I can't emphasize that enough. And if I was lucky enough to take 365 listings this year and list a property every single day, I'd feel the same way. It's just such a huge, huge thing. And honestly, it doesn't always work out. I've had listings expire. I've lost big listings. I've had, anything can happen, but all that aside, I mean, it's still such a huge honor to do that. And like you're saying, it's like, it's what creates everything else. And it's, you need to treat it that way. I mean, that's
you said something, and I may have taken it out of context. You said it's such a big win for the client. And what I heard when I was listening to that was just hiring you is a huge win.
It's a huge win.
It's a huge win because guess what, folks? You listen because you're listening to us, because you're getting 60 hours a week of live training at EXP, because you're getting coached by Tim and Julie and Sean and Orlando and Steve and all the people in our group at Libertas, or whether you're doing it by coaching at your own brokerage and the training you're getting from somebody else. You have skill and you have set yourself apart to get into the 20%, the top 20%, right? We're trying to get you out of the 80 and into the 20 and doing the 20% of the actions that make up 80% of your income, right? And doing 20% of the actions that makes 80% of your income is what gets you out of the 80% of realtors and puts you into the top 20% of income earners. And because you have that skill and because you're working on it, because you're even here, drop in the comments and tell us who you are, where you are. And because you're here and you're showing up, you're going to have skill and you're going to have mindset and you're going to have ability that sets you apart. And they are so blessed to have you as their agent because you're going to solve their problem, right? Their problem is they need to buy a house. They need to sell a house, but there's a why behind that. Dig through that, unpack that, right? Get to why do they have to sell? Why do they have to buy? What are their fears? Everybody's fear. The top 3 stressors in life are divorce, death of a loved one, and moving. They are afraid. They are, so many things can go wrong, and you are their guide, right? On Jungle Cruise, you are the rock sitting on the boat going downstream, and you've done it for 400 years, right? Like, spoiler alert, you have kids and you haven't watched Jungle Cruise, I'm sorry. But in any event, you've done this forever, right? You know every nook and cranny of the Amazon. You've charted it, you've carted it, you're going down river, right? With them, upriver with them, rather. And you are going to show them the way. And then they're going to be happy, right? They're going to be at peace because you're giving them a home, right? And because if they're selling, they're buying, and you're going to help them with that too. But you're giving them a place to live. You're giving them a place to have experiences with their family, a place to wake up and put their toes on the carpet, a place to have a meal and create memories. Like, what a gift you are giving them by putting them in the right school system for the needs of their family and getting them close to the things that they love to do and enabling them to have the lifestyle they want to do because it's close to this and close to that. And the resources are around. And I'm not going to go into specifics on that, but if you're not unpacking that with your clients, stop and do it right now so that you can address their needs at the highest possible level and serve them at a level, and the only way to meet clients, guess what? More opportunity, and more opportunity comes from more conversations, right? So you need more conversations, which is the discipline we talk about, to have the conversations, to create the opportunity, to create the relationships, to solve the problems and make dreams come true.
Well, I think you have to go into every listing appointment with the mentality, and I do, or every appointment with a seller of, they may not know, what they're getting by hiring you. And what I notice is when people hire me, I go in and, they on some level are taking a leap of faith by hiring me. And then I get it done. And then it's so funny. I've had people be like shocked, surprised. I mean, it's like all of a sudden the property's under contract and like things are happening. And I'm like, well, this is, I said I was going to do this, and this is what I because sometimes you can see beyond where they can at this point. You're helping them see that horizon that's out there, and they're not seeing as far as you are when you walk into the property. And that just happened to me a few days ago. I walked in and I was like, okay, I see what happened here. I see what needs to be done. And I'm gonna, I know if I employ the tactics that I use to help you sell, I'm going to get you to where you want to go. And I may shock you in the process, but I'm going to make this happen for you. And, in the last few years, like 2020, 2021, I've watched that, happen over and over again. And that's why your prospecting and going on appointments is so important, because if you don't do that, you're depriving people of that experience with you, which is really unfortunate because they need you. Like they really, really need you to navigate that process. And I know that because some of the questions I get from sellers, like in these deals, the questions, like, I mean, some of the questions always kind of amaze me, but they need you to hold their hand on a level that you may not even understand. And you really need to approach it with that sort of reverence and realize that you're providing the service that is like Rick, you're saying is you're helping them through this major life change. And it's pretty incredible to watch. And I mean, one deal I think about, like fall of 2020, I was involved in a single family home purchase here in one of the best neighborhoods in my town, Capitol Hill. It's just beautiful. And it was a really, really amazing home. And it was grandparents moving out west, moving out to Seattle, at least part-time, to be with their kids and grandkids. And one of the best deals that I've ever been a part of. And we got it under contract. And I was actually on the buy side on that deal, which I'm usually not, but I was on the buy side and got them into the deal and got it closed for them. And if you could have seen like the raw emotion with what happened with that, I mean, it was a very, very sought after listing. And luckily I worked with a phenomenal listing agent who was very open and was willing to help us, I think, because he really, I mean, I knew how much they wanted the home and I knew how it was a great fit for them. And just to see that unfold and to play that role was, I mean, it was really just amazing. It was such a gift to be involved in that. And that was like yet another one where it was like, I had been, I got my Washington license in like April of 2019. And this deal was like fall of 2020. So it wasn't that far in. But it was just such an incredible experience to even be a part of it and be around it. And I laughed because these buyers who I love, they're amazing people. They're so great. I laughed because, we always debate about what do we get for our buyers as a closing gift, and they got me a gift. That was how this went because they were so excited about getting this home, and rightly so. It's probably one of the coolest properties I've ever sold. And they were so excited to, have their family there and make the memories and be, together. Like they were kind of bringing their family together by having this house. Like they were from, New England area, and they're moving out here is a massive change for the whole family. And having this as like the home base was just it was like this massive emotional thing. And it was so cool to be a part of it. And I almost now feel like I'm part of their family. I mean, I remember like, I think I told them, I was like, I kind of want you like as my adoptive parents because you're such cool people. And, it's things like that. And of course not every deal is like that, but that was one of the ones that really just brought it home for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so folks, when you're listening to a story like that too, are you listening to understand or are you listening to respond? And this is the same thing when you're on the calls with people and you're prospecting. When I was understanding what Lee was talking about there and the emotional experience the buyer had and the emotional experience he had and the gift that they each gave each other of the time together and the experience that they had. If you enter a prospecting session saying, oh my gosh, any one of these calls could lead to that wonderful experience, to that smile on my face, to having an adopted family virtually from doing a deal and giving them the blessing of a new home. Like, oh my gosh, like I could get that today. I could enter that relationship today. And I might have to go through 100 no's to get to a yes. But man, is that yes worth more than anything you could buy in the store?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. That's how I feel about the listing that's going live today. I think that was from a prospecting call from either this past weekend or Monday. And it's like it never gets old. I mean, what an honor, like what a huge honor to get to do this. And I had my photo and video guy there yesterday. And I mean, he's going to send me everything today and I'm going to get it live. And it's like, it's just such a massive win. And it's like every new listing you take, like, I know for me, it's like, I work different areas in the city and it's always like this really, really cool learning experience. I mean, I know the market locally, but it's like this cool experience to know it intimately in the way that you do when you have a listing in this area. Like this, you know, like you're sort of embedded in that community all of a sudden, and you will know it in a way that, you know, few people do. And it's pretty cool to be involved in that. So.
Absolutely. I'm changing the description of our show right now just because the show's taken such a wonderful turn. So
this is kind of a feel-good show. This is like the emotional show, from mindset to, you know, to understanding your client and, like, you know, their experience, which is really a huge thing. I mean, it's kind of everything. So
absolutely. I know I learned a lot today, Lee. I appreciate that. I wish we could go and have live clients or live people here. And maybe we'll start doing this live on Clubhouse so we can do a little bit more interactive and see what people are saying. I don't see anything in the comments right now. I have seen a couple of emotions and claps and stuff like that on different channels that we're on. Folks, you can find us on Facebook on a number of channels. You know, the Freedom System is a group. Go to the FreedomSystem.live and it'll redirect you to our Facebook group. You can find us on YouTube on Top Cloud Agents. We're going to start a channel for the Freedom System. Lee's page, Rick's page. Text Lee at 206-419-8303. You can text Lee at 206-419-8303. You can text me 303-589-2320. If you're enjoying this coaching, just subscribe, notify, share it with friends. We'd love to pour into you every single morning, because guess what? We also get a lot from it, right? Like every time I tune on with Lee in the morning, you know, no matter how grumpy I am, no matter how unmotivated I am, I put a smile on my face, and just connecting with such an awesome human being and an awesome producer whose heart's in the right place just gets me fired up. And some days Lee's there for me, some days I'm there for him, and some days we're just enjoying the ride together. And I hope that you find someone like that to grow your business with. We're in different cities, but we're growing together, and that's kind of what we do here. And you can be a part of it as well. Just kind of, again, from the feel-good side of it, we just love to pour into you and help you grow. And the more you show up, the more you get out. And the more you show up, the more you're going to give. And by giving, you're going to learn. My dad used to say, like, don't read a book to understand it. Read a book so you can teach it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best way to learn something, is to teach it to someone else. That's something that I've learned in this whole process of, like, doing this with you, Rick, and, like, being involved in coaching and things like that. It's like that probably helps my business more than anything, because I learn it in a way that I really didn't understand it before.
Right. Because I can sit in a coaching session all day long and in one ear out the other, water, you know, right over my head, whatever. And I could go about my day and never change. Right.
Yeah.
But when you're being able to pour it back into others, it holds you accountable for the day. Right. Yeah. And it also demonstrates mastery of the knowledge. And you own that knowledge as opposed to renting it now. And we want to get you to that point, right? When you're first starting out in real estate, folks, you're going to be borrowing it. You're going to be renting it. You got to rent it every week. You got to go to a coaching session every single morning because your rent runs out pretty fast, right? So you're renting that knowledge, and then you're going to forget by noon, and you got to go back and listen to the show again. And you're going to go back and dive into the 60 hours a week of coaching that's in EXP. Like, go in at 1 o'clock, find something, refocus, and find something that's relevant to what you're doing today. Come back to us in the morning, get pointed in the right direction. Whether you're with another brokerage or not, really, we don't care. We offer EXP just as part of the Freedom System, but if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Just keep listening to the show. Keep applying the principles. Get from the 80% to the 20% by spending 80% of your time doing the 20% that matters. Get your mindset in the right place. And as always, just reach out to us anytime. So our contact details have been said a number of times. You can text us. We'll call you back. If you want to schedule a phone call with me, just put phonerick.com, pops right to my calendar. And Lee, any closing thoughts before we go prospect for the day?
No, I'm psyched to get prospecting. Great show.
Thanks, buddy. Totally unexpected every morning what we're going to talk about, but I love it every day.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.